Hello, welcome to 3 Inquisitive Kids. In this video, we're gonna be doing a word problem with ratios and fractions. So, let's get started. Alright, here's our word problem. Sofie and Beatrice bought some cherries in the ratio 3:5. After Sofie gave Beatrice 24 cherries, the ratio became 1:3. How many cherries did Sofie buy? First, let's try to figure out what quantities changed and what remained the same. So we know that both Sofie's number of cherries and Beatrice's amount of cherries both changed. But what did not change was the total number of cherries. The total number of cherries throughout these two ratios are actually the same. So we can use the quantity that stayed the same to link these two ratios together. Okay, so let's just first write down the before and after ratios. In the ratio Sofie to Beatrice, we have the before ratio is 3:5. And the after ratio is 1:3. And we know that the total amount of cherries did not change. So we know that the total number of units in each ratio is actually the same. Let's try to add together the total number of ratios. So in 3:5, the total number of units is 8. And in the second ratio, the after ratio, the total number of units is 4. And since we know that the total number of units should represent the same number of cherries, maybe we could make the total the same, because in here it's 8 and over here it's 4. Since we need to make the 8 and the 4 the same, we can multiply this 4 by 2. But in order for this after ratio to stay the same, we have to multiply all the numbers by 2. So now the after ratio becomes 2:6:8. So on Sofie's side, we see that the 3 changed into a 2, which means that Sofie lost some cherries. And on Beatrice's side, we see that the 5 became the 6, which means that Beatrice got more cherries. Her cherries increased, which makes one unit equal to 24 cherries. Why? The difference between 3 and 2 is 1. And the quantity of cherries that changed was 24, which means that 1 unit is equal to 24. Now we have to figure out how many cherries did Sofie buy. And to do that, we need to look at the 3 in the before ratio. And there's 3 units, and we know that 1 unit is 24 cherries. So now we can do 3 times 24, which gives us 72. So we know that Sofie bought 72 cherries. And that was the ratio solution for this problem. And now let's try to figure out this problem using thinking about fractions. We first need to have a before and after fraction. We need to figure out what fraction is 24 cherries. We can first write down Sophie's fraction and Sophie's before fraction, which is 3 over 3 plus 5. And the after fraction is 1 over 1 plus 3. And since we know from the word problem that Sophie gave away 24 cherries, it means that before fraction minus Sophie's after fraction equals 24 cherries, which means this fraction minus this fraction equals the fraction that represents 24 cherries, which gives us the fractions 3/8 minus 1/4 equals 1/8. Now we know that 24 cherries is 1/8 of the total amount of cherries. Now since we know what fraction 24 cherries is, we could do 24 divided by 1/8, which will give us the whole. And since we need to figure out how many cherries Sophie bought, we have to look at the 3 in this ratio over here to figure that out. And this 3 over here is 3/8 of cherries. So since 24 divided by 1/8 equals the total amount of cherries, then we can multiply 3/8 to it, and that will give us how much 3 units are in this fraction, and it will give us the answer to the problem. So this is equal to 24 times 8 times 3/8, and these 8s cancel out, which leaves us with 24 times 3, which gives us 72. So now we know that Sophie bought 72 cherries. Now let's review our 2 solutions for this word problem. So in the ratio solution, we wrote down the before and after ratios, and then we realized that the total amount of cherries did not change. So we used that to link these 2 ratios together so we could figure out the problem easily. And then we saw the change between the units of Sofie and Beatrice and found that 1 unit is equal to 24 cherries. And then since Sofie bought 3 units at first, we did 3 times 24, which gave us 72 cherries. In our fraction solution, we wrote down a before fraction and an after fraction, and we knew that it will give us 24. Then we found the fraction that represents 24 cherries, entire amount of cherries. And then we did 24 divided by 1/8 to get the whole, and then we found how much is 3/8 of the whole. And you might not understand why we did 24 divided by 1/8 to find the total amount of cherries, but we do actually have another video that talks about why we can do that. If you want to learn about it, you can watch that video. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you do have anything to comment, post it in the comments below, and please subscribe. Remember, if you still don't understand why we did 24 divided by 1/8 to get the total amount of cherries, there is another video for you to watch to learn that. And thanks for watching.